Here's how I feel. I feel like our children are being poisoned and we can stop it. We are the parents. We can say no. But instead, we sit back and we hope that the government will pass a law against it. There are several pieces of legislation that are aimed at curbing minors' usage of both smartphones and social media. We see one of those coming out of the UK and one right now coming out of Florida. Let's take a look at both of those. This from The Guardian. UK ministers considering banning sale of smartphones to under 16s. Polls show significant support for curb to protect children, but some Tories uneasy with the idea of government micro-parenting. Ministers are considering banning the sale of smartphones to children under the age of 16 after a number of polls have shown significant public support. The government issued guidance on the use of mobile phones in English schools 2 months ago, but other curbs are said to have been considered to better protect children after a number of campaigns. Esther Gay, the mother of 16-year-old Brianna, who was murdered last year, has been campaigning for an age limit for smartphone usage and stricter controls on access to social media apps. She told the BBC, "We'd like a law introduced so that there are mobile phones that are only suitable for under 16s. So if you're over 16, you can have an adult phone, but not under 16. You can have a children's phone, which will not have social media that are apps that are out there now." A March survey of 2,496 parents found 58% of parents believe the government should ban smartphones for under 16s. So this is happening over in the UK. They're seriously considering this. They're giving very clear directions to English schools about usage of smartphone. And they're putting forward an idea to have some kind of like a dumb phone, some kind of old Nokia, like you get kind of texting and kind of calling and you get to play Snake, which I'm going to keep it real. Let's bring back Snake. I don't know this because there was no internet on those phones. I think I was the world champion in Snake. I don't know, but I'm going to claim it right here. You heard it. Wow. World champion Snake. Bring it back. And then once you're over 16 with some kind of parental verification, then you can have a smartphone. And a lot of the research that I have seen has said like social at 16. And even then, social that is shared with parents and that is completely overseen, because this is so powerful chemically, so powerful psychologically, what's happening on social media, that kids really just aren't ready for it. Now, it's not just the UK. The AP reports that there is also legislation that is happening in Florida right now. We will take a look at that. It says, less than a week after Republican Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed a social media ban for minors, Florida lawmakers sent him a new version on Wednesday that's expected to withstand his scrutiny. The House passed the bill on a 109-4 vote, completing Republican Speaker Paul Renner's top priority for the 60-day session that ends Friday. The bill will ban social media accounts for children under 14 and require parental permissions for 15 and 16-year-olds. We're not opening a Pandora's box. We're closing one, said Republican Representative Tyler Sororis, who sponsored the bill. The harm that is causing our children is documented and it is severe. And so it's like, finally, we're waking up to this. At one point, like, everyone smoked, and it was somewhat common for 14, 15-year-olds to start smoking cigarettes because everyone did it. As a matter of fact, at one point it was like, oh yeah, smoking's good for you, it like relieves stress or whatever, and then we learned, right? And as we learned, like, oh no, this will kill you, it will give you lung cancer, it will have all kinds of negative health consequences. Then we started legislating it, especially for minors who are just not old enough to make those kinds of decisions for themselves and who are way more easily addicted, specifically due to the fact that their brains are still in the process of developing. And so we start legislating things as we become aware of them. And of course, social media was pushed as a social good. This is a way to connect. This is a way to build your brand. It's a way to stay close to friends. This is a way to not be so lonely. But then we look at the actual statistics, and what we find is all of those things are working in reverse. Like the opposite of all those things is happening. Here's a bunch of research from Pew Research that shows that very thing. It says between 2012 and 2015, depression in boys increased by 21% and in girls by 50%. By 2015, 92% of teens and young adults owned a smartphone, but as smartphone use increased, so did feelings of depression. A 2017 study of 8th to 12th graders found that high levels of depressive symptoms increased by 33% between 2010 and 2015. The suicide rate for the girls in this age group increased by 65%. Like if we were worried enough about smoking for 50 years and getting lung cancer, how are we not worried that in 5 years, the suicide rate in girls increased 65%? We should be like seeing giant red flashing lights that something needs to be done about this. And it's only gotten worse. Child suicide rates increased up to 150% in self-harm by girls ages 10 to 14, nearly tripled, and the patterns all point to social media. 8th graders who spend over 10 hours on social media per week are 56% more likely to report being unhappy than those who spend less time on social media. Spending more than 3 hours on social media per day puts adolescents at higher risk for mental health problems. 13% of kids aged 12 to 17 report depression, and 32% report anxiety. 25% of 18 to 25-year-olds report mental illness. These age groups report high use of social media. 59% of U.S. teens experience cyberbullying or online harassment. 90% say they think this harassment is a problem that affects other people their age. 63% say that it's a major problem. The statistics go on and on and on and on. And what you see is over in the UK as well as here, that most parents support these measures and this government intervention statistically, but they are not enacting these rules in their own house. So 58% of parents are like, oh, I would love for you to ban smartphones. And what they're really saying is I'd like you to take care of this because I've already bought my kids smartphones and my 12-year-olds are already on Instagram. And man, if you, government mommy, government daddy, could come in and just run my house for me and parent my kids for me, golly, would that make my job a lot easier?
Wow.
So why not just be parents and realize that parents are the first line of defense, not the government? Now, I would love for these things to actually be legislated. The more help, the better. And if parents don't have it within themselves to stand up to their children who are begging and begging and begging for social media accounts and begging for smartphones, if they don't have it within themselves, then sure, maybe some government assistance will help. Here's what I think though. Even if these laws get passed, for parents who are unable to stand up and parent their children, their kids will just convince them to circumvent it. Their kids will just convince them that they need it too badly and everyone still has it and they need to kind of break this rule. And, you know, Dad, you never follow the speed limit, right? That's a law. You always go 10 over that. And so I know I'm like 2 years too young for social media, but just open an account for me and approve it for me and it'll be great. And then I can be one of the cool kids. Parents are the first line of defense. And it's mind-blowing to me that a majority now of parents know these statistics. They've seen the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix. They have read this. Someone's talked about it to them. Someone at their church has spoken about this. They've seen a YouTube video on it. They've read a CNN article. They know how deadly and how dangerous this is. They would never allow their kids to smoke cigarettes. Most of them would never allow their kids to abuse drugs. However, they are more than willing to put smartphones in their hands, completely unrestricted, and allow them to get on social media, which is functioning and lighting up the same parts of their brain as like the most highly addictive drugs. Huge percentage of young people are actually addicted to their smartphones and actually addicted to social media. And their views of the world are warping, and loneliness is climbing exponentially, and depression and anxiety and even suicidal ideation is climbing exponentially because of this unwillingness to monitor our kids and just be swept along with the cultural flow that says every kid around 10, 11 years old should get a smartphone and be able to do on it whatever they want. Here's what scripture says. It says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they're old, they will not turn from it. There is a stair-step approach to allowing your kids access to things, to allowing them some kind of smartphone, to allowing them some kind of monitored social, to allowing them internet access that is monitored at some level in order to build responsibility, knowing that someday they will leave your house and be able to do whatever they want. And so you start them off on the way that they should go. Does that mean your 10-year-old needs a smartphone? It just doesn't. Does it mean your 13-year-old needs social media? It just doesn't. You start them off on the way they should go. You model this for them. You build it into their life. And when they are old, they will not turn from it. Here's what Deuteronomy says. These commands I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Like, model this. show your children the right way. And part of how we show that is by boundaries and by looking at your kid and saying, I love you. And I know all your friends have this. And I know all your friends are on social media. And I don't care. This is not good for you. This is poisoning people's minds. And I care about you enough to have this fight with you and for you to be mad at me and to be healthier and to raise you up in the way that you should go. So when you're older, you will not depart from it. Here's how I feel. I feel like our children are being poisoned and we can stop it. We are the parents. We can say no, but instead we sit back and we hope that the government will pass a law against it, that the government will come and do our job for us. Parents are the first line of defense, not the government. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you are subscribed so you can stay up to date with all new content. And if you want early access, exclusive content, and monthly live Q&As, make sure to check out patreon.com/ClaytonTine.